Hello, I'm Jonathan and welcome to the Tamworth FC Social, a podcast all about Tamworth Football Club. We are back, not necessarily refreshed, but we are back after a summer break, and this time we will be looking ahead to the 2025-2026 season. There's been a number of new signings, Brett, hasn't there, since the last season ended. What are your initial thoughts in terms of how it stacks up versus this time last year?
I think on paper it's a much better squad than it was last season. I think at this stage where we are in pre-season, when we're recording this, I'd still be pretty concerned about the firepower up front and the fact that we've only got two recognised strikers. But I think, definitely the wingers that have been brought in and most of the midfield is much better than what we had. Signed, obviously, the right back who's been on trial with us all pre-season. I saw him against Lichfield. He looked pretty pacey. It sounds like he's had a really good pre-season for us as well, so hopefully he's a good signing. We were in a position where last season we were saying we thought that we kept too much of the squad before and look at the season that we had, so kind of not really writing anything into it until probably after August, really.
Thing with Manny Duku, Chris, like his record last season wasn't terrible for Solihull. 4 goals in 9 games. Like that's, I know it's not a massive kind of sample in terms of matches, but it could be worse. But do you share Brett's concern about the options up front going into the season as it stands?
I do, yeah. He's done well at Solihull, so hopefully that bodes well. I think like all of them really. I think Peaks has earned the right to have our trust for us to trust his decisions on these sort of things. So we'll just see what happens and give him the benefit of the doubt. He's obviously brought in to try and fill the Creaney role for the throw-ins and the longer balls and things like that. So yeah, we'll just have to see how he fits in.
Interesting, Graham, isn't it, how that the signing of Duku's kind of worked out? Because I know they are totally separate deals, but effectively like a swap for Creaney with Solihull. And it is huge shoes to fill in that position because Creaney really had a sterling campaign.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Chris said. I think we've got to see what happens with him. He's obviously had a lot of clubs, and he's the wrong side of 30, but he is somebody who scored goals at National League level. He did it last season. He's done it for York City before. So yeah, got to trust in Peaks in the process. We've got enough good quality in midfield now to be able to supply somebody. So you hope that if somebody who can at least just be in the right position and there's plenty of balls coming in the box, then most strikers are going to be wanting to feed off that. So let's see what happens really with him. I think we do lack firepower though at the moment, and hopefully we're going to be signing at least 2 or 3 strikers before we get to the Scunthorpe game.
I think you said earlier, Brett, that about the this time last year it was kind of a mood of a lot of the players from the north had stayed on and were playing in the National League for the first season back. There are still quite a few key players though, like Jazz Singh, Hayden Hollis, Ben Mills, like leaders, I suppose you'd say, in that dressing room who are still here. And I've just looking at some of the names and some of the positions of the new players, like it does feel like there is a direction here from Andy Peaks, like trying to maybe freshen up in the right areas.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at Peaks' teams over the years, it's probably the most refreshed side is put out for a settled team. No disrespect to anyone who's gone out, but it absolutely needed to be moved forward to the next level. And you look at some of the signings that we've made, we've got a centre-back who's come from Barnet on loan. The right-backs come from somewhere southernly based, obviously. I know he's initially from Blackpool before, but he's been on loan, obviously, at Havant and Welling before that. We've got Ducker, who, yes, has technically come from up the road, but he's been everywhere. You know, he's not locked to a Midlands base, if you like. So we have gone out and we've tried to freshen it up a little bit in terms of getting people from a bit further afield. Whether that works out in our favour, we'll have to see, won't we? But yeah, it did need a refresh, and hopefully it's the right kind of characters we've got in. So it'd be interesting to see how Peaks gets that to gel.
I'd almost say like the file players and Alfie Bates are almost kind of statements of intent, I suppose, because you think Brackley coming into the National League, they'll probably, you know, be confident of maybe doing more than just stay up. And to sign a player who played a lot for them last season, that's, you know, pretty encouraging for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most Peaks-esque signing of the summer for me, I think, really. He's the kind of player who he does go for. He's not quite as young as you'd think, and he's looking for that opportunity. And I think he's the kind of player I think Peaks can get the best out of. And the fact that their fans are disappointed to lose him as well, I think that bows quite well. And he's definitely an improvement on what we had last season, in my opinion. So I think that could potentially be a good move. And I think that's the sort of transfer that he has been looking for. And that's what he puts his real stamp on transfers like that, I think.
It feels like the squad's very well stacked for wingers now. Like, I don't know if this is some really innovative formation that's gonna be unveiled on the first day of the season against Scunthorpe, Graham. But I mean, I thought last season the squad was, you know, doing well for wingers like Beck Ray and Tom McGlinchey. Like, both had really good seasons, in my opinion. But I guess it's also good that you're adding for competition for places in positions where you're already strong, because it will just, you know, keep generating, you know, competition in the squad.
Yeah, I think he does like his wingers, doesn't he, Mr. Peaks? He does, and similar type of players that he's kind of had since we've come from the Southern League. So similar type of players, but obviously now kind of like better quality. And to be honest, I mean, just going back to the point on some of the players that have come in, the one thing that Andy Peaks does is he gets the best out of players. Some of those, you know, players probably never thought they'd be playing in the National League last season, and he's got the best out of some of them. Some of them moved on, of course, but I think that's a testament to his kind of like management and coaching team, really, that he's done that. But yeah, we do have a lot of wingers, a lot of competition for places. It does make me wonder if like somebody like a Beck Ray will maybe play as a bit of a shadow striker as well at times, probably mix it up because he did a bit of that last season. But yeah, it's good. They're all exciting players, get the fans on their feet and stuff. So yeah, it's exciting to kind of see how that all works out.
Are we concerned that, as well as Dan Creaney, there's no Nathan Shakuna, who was another big source of goals, and then Kyle Finn, albeit didn't play as much last season as he did in the North, but he was the top scorer in the North, and he's now gone. So these are very big shoes to be filled, and do we think there's a bit of pressure on some of these signings to have to hit the ground running? Because, you know, there's the likes of kind of Jazz Singh, Hayden Hollis, Ben Mills. It's not them who's going to kind of fill the shoes of scoring goals. They can kind of be the leaders in the squad and on the pitch, but I don't know. We'll get to this later in the show, I'm sure. But like August for me is an extremely kind of key month in terms of getting off to a flying start.
Not overly concerned, to be honest, about losing Finn. No disrespect to him. I mean, obviously he's made that decision as well to go back to Hales. I mean, the Shakuna one, I'm quite looking forward to seeing how Stefan Moles turns out and develops over the season, because he had really good things about him. I saw some comments somewhere that said he was the best part-time player in the country. I don't know how you, how you compare that, or what kind of stats you look at for that. But really sought after. I think he had a great season for Curzon last year. Curzon Ashton really probably similar to Tamworth in the sense that massively outperformed their stature for a couple of seasons now in the National League North. So really looking forward to seeing how he turns out kind of as a replacement for Shakuna. And then I just think I think what will be key for us with losing Finn and losing Shakuna will be the way the likes of Joe Riley and Tyler Roberts, how they all link up, maybe as a three, and then whoever the front man's going to be to finish it off. But equally on the left, it's equally as dangerous. So again, I just think we're better. Really on paper, you look at it, you think, oh, that's really strong. It's just whoever's going to be finishing off the chances we should be making.
We've got some experience in there now, haven't we? I mean, obviously we've got the experience of being in there last season with the existing players, which is fantastic. Then we've got some of these other players that have come in that have experienced National League before. We're much better equipped across the whole field now in terms of National League experience.
I wasn't intending on talking about every single new signing, but just another name I wanted to get your thoughts on is Harvey Sayer. He, for me, feels like maybe the most wild card signing of the lot, but possibly the one who has the most kind of potential. Chris is someone who could really hit the ground running, as given his record of the last few seasons anyway. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing him, to be honest with you. I think he's the sort of signing that we should be going for. I think he's a young guy who wants to prove himself. He's got the record, he's coming in with the form, and it's a perfect opportunity for him again. And I think sometimes that some people need an opportunity, and Tamworth's a good club under Peaks in particular to prove what they can do.
Yeah, I guess there's kind of no better sales pitch than if you're trying to sign these kind of players and say, well, I'm Andy Peaks, look at what I've done.
He's got a long list of characters and players who Tamworth he has brought on, and I think some of the players that we thought, there's no way they're going to make it in the North, let alone the National League, and he's managed to drag them through the leagues with him, and I think that says a lot about him, to be honest. And I think there will be players of that sort of ilk, if you like, who are going to be, pushing to come to the club. Really, I think it's a good advert.
I mean, essentially, if you're in a part-time team anywhere in the country, you've got the best part-time club in the country. We were last year, so it's like no better kind of offering, is there really? But I suppose if you are part-time, depending on where you're coming from and travelling from, that's where you kind of the limits kind of come up. But yeah, I think it's an attractive proposition for a player, especially a young player as well, looking to prove themselves, because they know that they're putting themselves in the shop window then for perhaps Football League if they've got ambitions.
Yeah, if you look at people like Jellis and Tishkuna as well, he's always let people go full time as well, even though it's potentially a detriment to the club. But he's very much a people person, isn't he? So again, it's giving people that platform, and then if he comes in and does well, then he's deserved it. Fair play to him.
It's like win-win all round, isn't it? Because we're getting a really good player, and then they can, they move on, and hopefully we get a fee for them.
We were talking about this, weren't we? Maybe last month, Graham and Brett. Is this Tamworth's best, identity if they're going to be a part-time club who are in the top half of the National League? Is probably the best position to be in if you can say to players we've got a brilliant track record of signing players from maybe a division or two lower, getting them up to speed, and then becoming a star essentially, and then maybe moving on to bigger clubs or full-time clubs off the back of it. How Brighton and Brentford have maybe established themselves in the Premier League. That perhaps is not the worst sales pitch, if you like, to make to players.
So that less pressurised environment as well, I'd have thought, than going, if you were to get say Harvey Sayer had got to move to a full-time National League club, he's then putting all his eggs in one basket, isn't he? And it's actually a kind of nice hybrid, because you get to prove yourself at a really, really good level, but you're able to kind of still manage whatever else you want to do in case it doesn't quite work out. And probably, like I say, less pressure for them then. So it's a good thing to have. And then, to look at what Tamworth have done over the last couple of seasons and what Andy Peaks has done and the kind of manager he is, I think it is a good place to be if you're in that a young player in that position.
Something I thought was just worth mentioning is the the new TNT Sports advert, which, if you guys have seen it, it's features Tamworth Football Club in the form of Jordan Cullinane-Liburd. Very, very amusing. I suppose it's like a scene of him at an office desk, isn't it, wearing a pair of football boots. I think it was, I can't remember which one of you sent it, Graham or Brett, but like you put it on our WhatsApp chat for the podcast, and I couldn't quite believe my eyes when I saw it. Like, he's quite a good actor, I suppose, that just like the little comedic look at the camera. When's the last time Tamworth would have been in a promo for like a channel's football coverage like that?
Probably never.
And why Jordan Cullinane-Liburd? I wonder how it just came about. It's brilliant though. It's really good. Really, really good.
Wanted to talk to you guys about the fixture list, which has been released since our last episode came out. I think I said this earlier, but for me, August is maybe the most intriguing month on paper, because you've got 3 newly promoted sides, Scunthorpe, Truro and Brackley, but then you've also got Southend and Gateshead away, who are, kind of about as established as you can get without having got promoted. I feel like we probably said this time last season, but this really does to me feel like a bit of like an acid test, in that you're playing a good mixture of teams there. So there's perhaps good opportunities for a few wins, Graham.
It's an important month. It's always an important month for first month. I mean, we didn't get off to a great start last season. In a way, didn't really matter in the end. But obviously, it's nice to get off to a good start. But we've got some really winnable games on paper in the first month, and we need to try and get as much points as possible. First game of the season, we're home to Scunthorpe. I mean, they're kind of like one of the sort of outside promotion favourites I saw, but they're newly promoted, and there's a good opportunity for us there to get some points. Southend away is difficult. We've got Truro at home, potential 3 points. Got Gateshead away. It's away, but it's potentially points available there. Then we've got Brackley at home. Yeah, you're potentially looking at maybe nine points you could get during that month. That would be a great return. So, yeah, I think it's an important month just because the fixtures look quite favourable on paper. Then you go into September and it's starting to get a bit trickier then, with games away against like York and Sutton United. So yeah, we want to be making quite a fast start.
That should be a really rocking opening game though, Scunthorpe at home. Like, just harking back to last time that happened, obviously resulted in a league title for Tamworth. Maybe it's fanciful to think that's going to happen again. Do we think there'll be any sort of rivalry with Scunthorpe, if you can call it that, from last time in the north?
I think it was a big thing for us to go up there on their own patch and turn them over a little bit on a Tuesday night. That was massive. And
then obviously rubbed it in even more and beat them to the league.
And I bring big numbers as well, like they did like the first time we was in the north. And obviously took over the town a little bit as well, didn't they?
They're going to bring a lot, aren't they? Like first day of the season, back in the National League, and yeah, with the rivalry a little bit with Tamworth. Yeah, there'll be a really big crowd.
I think it's Brackley. I've got my eye on a bit this year, to be honest, because it's like the battle of the two Midlands part-time clubs, isn't it? Almost. I think we've got to get ahead of them, really. So that's going to be an interesting rivalry, I think.
Made some good signings as well, Brackley.
Yeah. I mean, they made a couple that I don't know if we were after them or not, like people like Waldron and people like that. So I don't know.
And I think they could surprise a few people as well next season.
I do. Yeah.
They could go on a journey similar to what we did. I don't think they'll be as, they're not going to finish 10th. I mean, people said that about us last season, but I think they'll surprise a few people.
I think they've got a similar style to us, the way they play, which is probably why they've signed like Miracle from us. It's a similar kind of style in the way that they set up. So be interested to see what they're like in the National League. But they have made some good signings.
Yeah, they're very solid for the middle at night, and I think the back four's pretty much the same as well, isn't it? They've kept that for quite a while, so I think they're one to watch, definitely, yeah.
Something else I saw as well in January, there's a double header of Truro City away, and then 4 days later, Wealdstone away. which I haven't actually looked it up on the internet to see what the mileage is there, but that is, I don't know. Probably wouldn't choose that, would you, if you're a Tamworth Football Club coach or player to do that journey down to the southwest and then down to London? Do we think it's a more difficult National League this season? Because I think you've probably, like you've already alluded to, got a few newly promoted sides who will probably fancy being nearer the top than the bottom of the table.
I think it's harder for us. First, second season syndrome. Hopefully that we're not a victim of that. But I think it's definitely harder for us. The nucleus of the team is still pretty much there, but it's a new team, probably the newest team under Peaks, with the most changes. There's still some big teams in it. York is still there. There's a lot of distance to be travelled. So I think it's harder for us. I don't know if the league's any necessarily harder. It's a hard league anyway, but I think it's definitely harder for us.
I think it's going to be tougher as well because we finished a lot above a lot of bigger clubs last year, like your Suttons and people like that. And they're not going to allow that again, are they? So I imagine they'll be pushing hard. All the ex-football league clubs will be pushing hard as well. So I think we're going to spend a little bit more time looking over our shoulders this year, but it's the nature of the game when you're part-time, isn't it?
I think the expectations of us have obviously probably risen, but still for us as a club, the reality is that we just want to stay in that league. So we need to do anything and everything to do that. I think on paper, to me, the league is almost, I'm not going to say easier, but there's more part-time clubs in there now than there was last year, I think. So on paper, you could say theoretically it's slightly easier for Tamworth, but it's not really, because we've got Carlisle coming down who got a very experienced manager, and you've got Forest Green. As Chris said, you're gonna get clubs like Hartlepool who are determined to do a lot better than what they did last season. They've made a lot of good signings as well. And your Sutton United first season back down there, just kind of settling back in again, and yeah, they're gonna probably do quite well. So I think for me, it's trying to stay away from that bottom four as much as possible, and then we'll see what happens if we're in a half decent position after sort of 15 games, and then they can kind of pressures off a little bit. But teams have kind of worked out, well, you'd think they'd work out exactly kind of the way we set up and stuff now, but we'll see. Yeah.
It did get to the point towards the end of last season where a few fans were disappointed we didn't make the playoffs in the end, which is astonishing, really, isn't it? But I just hope that even if we are, I'll say floundering, but even if we are kicking off around mid-table for most of the season, so hopefully that the fans don't turn a little bit and think we should be doing better, because realistically our remit is every season is to stop up. Anything more than that is a bonus. So I think that's the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about, is it's the reception of the fans towards how we're doing. But again, I think chances of finishing top 10 in the playoffs, I think it's going to be infinitely harder this year. And I'd probably say, I don't want to use the word impossible, but I think it's a big ask, and I'm not sure that I'd expect that at all. So we'll have to see. But I think we've got to keep our feet on the ground a little bit.
That's all for this episode of the Tamworth FC Social podcast. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this episode a like. Until next time, goodbye.